Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're taking a look at the Skylark-S F3A pattern plane from Value Hobby. Alright, before I start on that Skylark-S, I think if you guys have been following this channel for any length of time, you know what kind of affinity I have for this Millennium Master. And for quite a while I've been looking for a replacement of the Millennium Master as my go-to, basically all-time favorite airplane. I've been on a hunt for it for a while, not because of anything the Millennium Master did wrong, but because it's a foam plane. This is actually my third or fourth. I think this is my fourth iteration of this plane. And what ends up happening is I end up just flying them to pieces, literally. Not because of damage, not because I crash them or anything else, but just because I fly them so much and I just end up wearing them out. So I've been on the lookout for a replacement. I've looked at several different options, including balsa planes, but so far nothing has quite gotten me where I wanted to be in terms of performance and good flight characteristics and just the overall chuckability of this plane. And what I mean by that is I can chuck this in the back of my truck. It takes up almost no space and I'll fly it just about anywhere because it's just the perfect size. It's a 40-inch wingspan, it weighs 760 grams, and it flies exceptionally well. So anyway, for a long time I've been looking for a replacement for this plane and I've been unable to find one. Recently, while scanning Value Hobby's listing of planes, I stumbled across this Skylark-S. This is a plug-and-play airplane. It's got a 37.5-inch wingspan and it weighs 760 grams. It's about 2.5 inches less wingspan than the Millennium Master, and it weighs the same, and it's going to have a similar power configuration. So the only real structural difference is that this one's a tail dragger. It is a P&P airplane, and it's actually cheaper with shipping than the Millennium Master. So when I saw this, I really started looking it over. I did some research on it. I checked some of the threads and forums. I watched a couple videos and decided that this one might be worth a crack. I also want to point out that Value Hobby is not the only place that sources this. You can also find this plane on Banggood. I ordered the P&P version of this plane, but they do have a kit version which is basically everything except the ESC motor and servos, which might be a real good option if I wear out the foam on this plane flying it, because if all I have to do is replace the airframe, I can take my old motor, ESC, and servos out and put them in a new airframe and I'm back in business. I also need to point out that this plane was 70 bucks, and with shipping, I think it was, I don't know, it was like $80 with shipping. It was cheap. Now, before I forget, there is one thing that I'm going to call out because I really don't like it. When I read the manual, the online manual on Value Hobby, they say the recommended equipment for the motor is a G-Force E450 brushless motor. And of course, Value Hobby sells that motor. They characterize that motor as a 2835-1200. When I made the choice between the kit and the plug-and-play version of this plane, I opted for the plug-and-play version because when I sourced the recommended parts from Value Hobby and elsewhere, I actually spent slightly more money buying everything individually than I did with the plug-and-play version. Now, with that said, when I got the plane, the first thing I did is look at the motor, and I'm a little disappointed because I feel a little bit like there is a bait and switch, because the motor that's in the plane is a 2217-1100. There's a pretty big difference between a 2217-11 and a 2835-12. A 2835 is a more substantial motor. And just to prove the point, I've got a couple of analogs that I'm going to show you. Okay, this is a Sunny Sky 2216 1250 kV. This is a really good motor. So I have this motor in stock. I might go ahead and use this one. I'm not sure yet, haven't decided. But this is basically the motor that they gave with the plane. This is a 2836 1100. This is very, very close to what they recommend in the plane. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell the difference in my hand, but you can look at the diameter of the Turnigy motor, and it is quite a bit wider than the 2216 Sunny Sky. This is effectively the motor that's in the plane. This is the one they recommend. I feel like they did a little bit of bait and switch, so I'm not real happy about that. I got to be honest with you, not real happy about that. Had I known that, I probably would have just ordered the plug-and-play version and used my own motor instead. Okay, so with that out of the way, that's my big gripe about the plane. Let's take a look at it. Now inside, let me see if I can get this set up so you can see it. Inside they've got, the motor is connected to a metal motor mount which is glued to this basswood plate. So that's a pretty solid motor mount configuration. I do like that. And the shaft exits out the front, actually out of the back, out of the base plate of the motor. It's one of these configurations where the screws mount to the base of the motor. That's where the screws go. The shaft exits out the rear of the motor or the base of the motor. So that's what you've got. But they also include, check that out. That's a Skywalker 40 amp. I have high praise for these. I've had excellent luck with these ESCs in the past. I definitely approve of that. These are good ESCs. And then inside there's also a Velcro strap for the battery, a nice wooden plate, and of course the servo connections, and a couple of metal plates for the canopy. So overall, this fuselage looks really good. I got to tell you that I saw several online iterations of this plane, and I noticed that the paint bleeds a little bit here, but it's not bad. I mean, it could be better, of course. It's not perfect, but it's not terrible, and I'd say at a foot away, you're really not going to really notice that too much. Right, so overall, the fuselage looks very good. I like the scripting on the side. That's a pretty cool font for the Skylark. And then there's the rear section. The servos are already pre-mounted, ready for the tail assembly. And here's the other side. Other than that small little bleed right there, the outside of this fuselage looks great. No damage, no nicks. The paint looks fine. It's very good. Very good. I'm very satisfied with that. As far as the tail assembly goes, this will be glued in, and oh, yeah, I want to point this out. Here's one thing that I noticed when I was looking at it. I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick that up or not, but they actually glue the EPO seam. I couldn't believe my eyes because most EPO planes do not do that. In fact, I've even talked about this issue on several of my build videos where if you want durability, you really need to go in and glue these seams, but they glued these. That's impressive to me. I'm really shocked, and I think that's actually very cool that they do that. So as far as the tail surface goes, this is a real simple fit. This just slides in the back. No real alignment work to be done, and then the vertical stabilizer goes in right behind that, and those will get glued together. You will end up gluing that. But very, very fast, very fast assembly. And the servos, of course, are in the back for both the elevator and the rudder. They're both on the tail. On the canopy, and I think it's really clever the way they did this, there's the exit ventilation. It's on the top, but the reason I think that's clever is because it's all black and it blends into the canopy. You can barely see it. And I checked, there's ventilation up front. They're paying attention to details because you've heard me complain about this 20 times. You got to have ventilation up front. You got to have egress out the back so you can put airflow over your electronics, your motor, ESC, your batteries. You got to have it. Oh, and the tail wheel. The tail wheel assembly is already on there. No work to do there. It's already completed. And it's metal. I mean, I got to tell you, for a $70 airplane so far, I'm kind of impressed. The quality that I've seen on this plane so far is very good. All right, now let's take a look at the first wing. This will bring me to my first structural gripe about the plane. So again, you can see glue down the entire seam of the aileron, all the way down. I don't know if you can see that or not. All right, I hope you can see that, but if not, you can take my word for it. There's glue running down that entire seam of that aileron hinge, all the way down to here, all the way down to there. Decals, they're using a matte decal, which I definitely approve of. I talked about that with the B26 Marauder. I like the flat decal instead of the glossy vinyl. It just looks better. It looks more natural. And the color scheme is very attractive. In fact, I use a lot of white. Look at my board. I use a lot of white, black, and red, so it's going to fit in around here just fine. First gripe that I have is the wing assembly. They use these little like T-sticks, and they go inside the fuselage, and you're supposed to use an O-ring from this one to the other wing. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to glue my wings in. in Florida when it comes to rubber bands, and I just don't want to rely on that for the airplane. So I will just glue mine together. I appreciate the effort in trying to come up with a way to make this plane break down easily. It's just no point. It's a 37-inch wingspan, so I will not bother with that. The beauty covers were actually on the wing when I got it, but they weren't glued, which that doesn't hurt my feelings at all, because I've had issues in the past with these beauty covers are glued and the servo wire's in the wrong channel. So this just gives me an opportunity to make sure everything's correct before I glue it up, and I'll make sure that my wires are where they're supposed to be, and we're good to go there. And again, servo's already installed. All I've got to do is connect the control horns and the push rods. Minor bit of work there, but no complaints. That's very easy to do. That is the starboard wing. It looks great. And then here is the port wing. Again, really nice decals. I like the markings on this plane a lot. That's one thing you definitely see a lot of in some of these designs. The graphics patterns are a little gaudy. You know, these look good. They look very sporty, very clean lines, tastefully done, I guess is the way I'd put it. And then again, this seam is completely glued all the way. Let's see if I can spot it. Here's where it starts, right here, and it runs all the way to here. I give them big props for that, because it's not something you see on EPO planes. They glue the hinges, and it's good. They need it. And then there's the back side. Again, beauty cover came on, but it wasn't glued in yet, which is fine. I don't have any complaints about that. Now the landing gear. This landing gear has got to be one of the most trick pieces of landing gear I've ever seen, and I'll tell you why. So you've got these, I think they're called spads or wheel covers. These things are threaded, so they thread on the landing gear. This side of the landing gear right there is threaded. So when you assemble this, you put the wheel inside the pants, and then you slide the pants on, and then you just spin the pants around that thread. And then once you get it nice and snug, this little cross brace just gets pushed down, and that, between the tension of the thread on the plastic and that little cross brace, that's what keeps the pant from flipping up and down. That wasn't clear in the instructions or anything that I read, but it's excellent. I mean, it's a very elegant and simple way to do things. And if you want, it'd be real easy to just put a drop of hot glue in there that would even strengthen it further and allow you to take it apart if you ever needed to change the wheel or bend it or replace a part. They're real easy to do. It's a very elegant and simple solution. I'll see how it holds up. I know I've read complaints about how this handles the grass, but I'm flying off of a hard surface, so I'm not too worried about that in my use case. Okay, regarding the hardware, I have to show you this because I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it, but look at that tube of glue. I mean, this is the biggest tube of glue I've ever gotten with an EPO plane. It's absolutely ridiculously huge, but that's the glue for the empennage, and I'll use mine on my beauty covers and to glue that wing in. And then here's the bag of hardware. These are the O-rings that I was telling you about that go on the wing tabs that pull the wings together. Again, I'm not a big fan of that. I'll just glue my wings in. And then here are the control horns and the clevises. I don't see any fuel tubing, so I will be cutting some fuel tubing and putting it on my clevises when it's time for that. But very small bag of hardware. And they give you a couple of 9x6 slow fly props. So you've got those if you want them. Here is a Y connector for the ailerons, and here are the push rods. Very small, very easy to install. Nothing going through the plane, so you don't have to worry about flex. All the servos are located very close to the control horn. Also very, very good. It's one less thing to worry about in design, and you don't worry about flex on the push rods when they're that short. Then they give you a little handy-dandy screwdriver. And here's another thing that you don't see too often. Here's the spinner, and they've got spinner adapters, which is kind of cool because that means you don't have to ream out the back plate. You just put the back plate on your prop shaft, put the appropriate size adapter on, and you're good to go. So hopefully this will be a flat back plate. We'll see. You know my luck with those. The last bit is this fiberglass spar tube. And I already checked it for fit. It's the correct length, so everything looks good there. So there you go, guys. That's a first look at the Value Hobby Skylark-S F3A pattern plane. I have high hopes for this plane. I really have high hopes for this plane. I've seen a couple flight videos. It looks like it flies well. I'm not sure which motor I'm going to use. I'll probably just try the stock motor out and see what happens. It's going to fly with a 3-cell 2200. If I'm not happy with that, I've got some alternatives I might try out later. I'll give this a try for now and see what I think of it in the stock configuration. That way I can let you know if you need an upgrade or if the stock configuration works. This is a very promising looking alternative to the Millennium Master. Keep an eye out on the channel for the build video and the Maiden. I'll get those put together as soon as I can. And that's all I've got for tonight. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, I would appreciate your subscription. And if you are a subscriber, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when new content hits the channel. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Take it easy. Less wingspan than the Millennium Master. It's about 2.5 inches less wingspan than the Millennium. And if you are a subscriber, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when new channel. And if you are a subscriber, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when new stuff.